As a nocturnal guardian of the emergency room in a bustling metropolitan hospital, I've borne witness to a myriad of peculiar and astonishing occurrences. Amidst the chaos of my nightly shifts, there emerged one tale that transcends the ordinary, an unsettling episode etched into the fabric of my career. The clock struck 10 p.m., signaling the commencement of my 8-hour night shift at the expansive downtown hospital. Nestled amidst the medical hub, with the children's hospital and the cancer ward as neighbors, the ambience was ripe with an eerie calm on this warm summer night. Driving into the staff parking area, the security guard scrutinized my badge before ushering me in, and as I traversed towards the entrance, the anticipation of another eventful night enveloped me. Entering the building, the serene tranquility of the night exterior yielded to the frenetic energy of the city emergency room. The corridor, illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights, mirrored the fervor of daytime, creating an atmosphere pulsating with urgency. Hours passed in a whirlwind, a typical frenzy of activity, until the arrival of a new patient escalated the night into an extraordinary realm. The man stumbled through the front entrance, drenched in blood, clutching his abdomen. A spectral agony marked his features as he navigated the waiting room, a figure of distress. A fellow nurse and I rushed to his aid, guiding him towards the operating room. Peeling away his blood-soaked flannel shirt revealed a stomach wound, a visible testament to a violent encounter. Stabilizing his condition, I found myself alone with this enigmatic figure. While the knife wound demanded immediate attention, my gaze discerned additional injuries. Defensive scratch marks adorned his arms and face, deep and deliberate, like claw marks from unseen assailants. My healthcare expertise struggled to interpret the cryptic language of these wounds, yet an undeniable sense of foreboding crept over me. Our eyes met, locking in a silent exchange laden with unspoken questions. A momentary connection ensued, unsettling in its intensity. As he attempted to seize my arm, a sudden instinct propelled me out of the room, leaving him isolated within the sterile confines. The police, already on the scene due to the stabbing, listened as I relayed the eerie encounter. The man's treatment continued, the enigma of his injuries unraveling in the hands of my vigilant colleague. The case was handed over to the police, yet the details of the altercation remained shrouded in mystery. My intuition whispered of malevolence, a lingering sense that the man carried darkness with him. I could only hope that the other party, obscured in the shadows, emerged unscathed from this nocturnal dance with the unknown. For several years, I toiled away at the local gas station, a job that had seen me through high school and lingered into the post-graduation haze while I navigated the uncertainties of my early adult life. As I grappled with my choices, the transition to the night shift presented itself as an appealing option: better pay, quieter ambience, and a preference born out of my inherent night owl tendencies. The gas station, nestled on the corner of a serene street, boasted 4 pumps at the forefront and a duo of dumpsters sidled up to the side. During the dark hours, the station's tranquility was palpable, the automated pumps humming softly while customers predominantly opted to pay at the pump, sparing me from the usual foot traffic. My penchant for nocturnal living and an admitted addiction to video games made the decision to embrace the night shift almost intuitive. As the clock approached 4 a.m., the silence of the night was interrupted by the arrival of an older Pontiac, its worn exterior marked by dents and a peculiar green paint job punctuated by rust spots. Strangely, the car rolled in with its headlights extinguished, a perilous maneuver given the pitch-black surroundings. I, initially dismissing it as a mere turnaround, returned my attention to my phone. Moments later, a cacophony erupted from the direction of the dumpsters. It seemed as if someone had forcefully thrown open a lid, creating a jarring collision with the building. Anticipating a routine infringement of the no-dumping policy, I cautiously stepped outside, a chill coursing down my spine, hinting at an impending sense of unease. Advancing towards the source of the disturbance, I cast a furtive glance around the corner, revealing the mysterious figure by the car. The darkness obscured any defining features, rendering the encounter unsettling. Despite my intention to confront the situation, an inexplicable sense of dread compelled me to retreat silently, concealing myself back in the store. As the minutes passed, a sigh of relief escaped me as the Pontiac exited the lot without another customer materializing for the remainder of my shift. The night wore on, and with only an hour left, I geared up for my routine garbage disposal. Gathering the remnants from each bin in the store, I bundled them into a sizable black bag and headed towards the dumpsters. Recollections of the earlier encounter lingered in the recesses of my mind as I switched on the lights near the ominous green bins. The area, now illuminated like a peculiar modern art exhibit, beckoned my cautious approach. Upon reaching the nearest bin, I swung open the lid, only to be met with a sight that froze me in shock, an assemblage of black garbage bags, one conspicuously drenched in a chilling red liquid. Stunned, I dropped the bag I held, its contents spilling onto the ground. Panic seized me as I rushed back into the store, hastily locking the door and cowering behind the counter. With trembling hands, I dialed 911, recounting the grisly discovery to the operator. The police arrived promptly, corroborating my account with the grim reality of a lifeless body within the dumpster. My description of the perpetrator remained elusive due to the night shroud, but the details of the car I provided became the crucial lead. Thanks to the information, the authorities tracked down the suspect, who now awaits trial for murder. As a potential witness, I find myself entangled in a web of unforeseen consequences. Despite the terror that gripped me that night, I persisted in the night shift for several more months, hopeful that such a horrifying experience would remain an isolated incident in the dark chapters of my nocturnal tenure. In the bygone era, my father served as a corrections officer in the state prison that shared its grim existence with our hometown. While he once reveled in the challenges of his job, a haunting incident forced him to bid farewell to that chapter of his life. As he recounted the story, it unfolded during the night shift, which, for the most part, was a serene contrast to the daytime chaos that riddled the prison. On those tranquil nights, he would patrol the prison grounds, navigating the dimly lit corridors in a guard truck or keeping watch from the towering vantage points. However, on this particular night, his routine took an unexpected turn when his superior instructed him to conduct a sweep of the prison chapel. The vast, empty space of the chapel exuded an eerie ambience as my father ventured through the yard. Floodlights on the prison walls cast long shadows, creating a surreal backdrop to his solitary journey. Approaching the chapel's imposing oak door, a wave of unease washed over him, the source of which remained elusive. Undeterred, he pushed open the door, flooding the interior with light. As he meticulously checked the small rooms at the front, a figure emerged from the office at the chapel's rear, a man dressed in the same uniform as my father, seemingly another guard. The air thickened with confusion as my father, unfamiliar with this fellow officer, questioned his presence. "Are you here to do a sweep of the chapel?" my father inquired. "Yes, I'll take it from here," the mysterious guard replied. Perplexed, my father left, intending to inform his boss of the swift resolution. However, upon reporting back, his boss expressed disbelief at the efficiency, as another guard had supposedly taken care of the task. This revelation left my father in a state of bewilderment. Why would someone else be sent if the chapel was already being checked? The mystery deepened 3 days later when my father, strolling through the prison's echoing halls, paused at a display case showcasing accolades and vintage photographs of guards from days gone by. It was then that he stumbled upon a photograph that sent a shiver down his spine, an homage to a guard who had perished in a riot 2 decades prior. The guard in the picture was the very same one my father had encountered in the chapel that fateful night. Haunted by this inexplicable encounter, my father, a skeptic turned believer in the paranormal, kept the story close to his chest, refraining from sharing it with skeptical colleagues. Ultimately, he decided to embark on a new career path, leaving behind the haunting memories of that night. Despite the terror it instilled, the tale became one of his cherished anecdotes, recounted time and again with a mix of awe and trepidation. And as I listened to it unfold, skepticism gave way to a belief in the supernatural, making it a story that continues to linger in the fabric of our family lore. At the age of 27, residing in the UK with my fiancée, I found myself immersed in the intriguing world of supporting teenagers with special needs in a school not far from the picturesque Bradgate Park. Having traversed various schools and children's homes, my experiences unfolded in the captivating year of 2013 when I embarked on a new role as a support worker at a care home catering to teenagers and young adults aged 18 to 30, grappling with autism, brain damage, and challenging behavior. The care home itself was a sprawling entity, boasting 2 living rooms, a spacious kitchen, a games room, a study, and 5 bedrooms. The expansive grounds included a vast garden with a charming summer house, an activity room leading to acres of fields and woodlands, a tapestry of diverse spaces that set the stage for a tale that would linger in my memory. In my initial weeks, I primarily navigated the waking night shift, from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. It became my responsibility to ensure all residents were settled for the night, completing cleaning tasks before the day staff took over. My nightly routine afforded me moments of solace, delving into activities like watching TV, reading university course textbooks, or immersing myself in mobile games. Little did I know that one particular night would unravel a series of inexplicable events. Amidst the unique cast of residents, one individual stood out, a young man named James. Despite his petite stature, he wielded a surprising amount of strength, especially when provoked. Known for his limited verbal abilities, he communicated through simple words, creating a unique form of dialogue. James, while generally well-behaved, harbored a temper that could erupt unexpectedly. One night, around 11 p.m., James stirred, descending the stairs to make a drink. Vigilantly observing, I stood in the doorway, ensuring he didn't cause any harm. After a brief interlude, he returned upstairs without incident. However, the tranquility was short-lived, as a mysterious noise echoed from the room above. Concerned, I investigated, only to find James seemingly undisturbed, his calm demeanor at odds with the loud disturbance. An hour passed, and another resounding bang emanated from the same empty room above the kitchen. Perplexed, I rushed to the scene, but the room remained vacant. With the residents securely in their rooms and alarms undisturbed, the source of the noise remained an enigma, lingering in the air like an unsolved mystery. The following night, upon my return to the care home, an eerie atmosphere pervaded. James, distressed and fixated on the phrase "Sarah little girl," bewildered the staff. Unprecedented behavior from him left us grappling with the unknown. As the night unfolded, James settled into bed, the staff dispersed, and I resumed my nightly tasks. Around 1 a.m., as I embarked on the routine check of residents, an unsettling encounter awaited me. Ascending the stairs, I noticed the darkness, the light switched off on the first-floor landing. The corridors leading to the bedrooms veiled in obscurity. I reached James's room on the left. Turning on the light, an eerie sight unfolded, James, eyes wide with an unsettling intensity, standing silently in the corner. My attempts at communication were met with an unnerving silence until, in a sudden burst, he screamed, assaulting himself with slaps. With the intervention of the sleep-in staff, we diffused the situation, guiding James back to bed. As dawn approached, the incident lingered in my mind, a perplexing episode in the tapestry of my experiences at the care home. Little did I know that the following days off would be marked by contemplation and an undercurrent of anticipation, as the inexplicable events continued to resonate in the corridors of that peculiar abode. Just as my eagerly anticipated time off began, I returned to work the following week, only to be confronted with the escalating enigma surrounding James. His behavior had taken a darker turn, spending hours fixated on the window overlooking the garden, incessantly uttering the unsettling phrase, "Little girl, where are you?" The origins of this mysterious phrase remained elusive, casting a shadow over the care home. In the eerie quietude of a night around 3 a.m., the alarm jolted the staff, signaling the opening of door number 5, the spare room. An anomaly, as that door was perpetually locked. Intrigued and apprehensive, I ascended the stairs to investigate, discovering James standing in the dimly lit room, whispering the haunting words, "Where are you?" His obliviousness to my presence added an eerie layer to the already perplexing scene. Attempting to guide him back to his room, relief gave way to dread as he unleashed a guttural scream, pummeling the door in a violent outburst. Concurrently, the front door alarm chimed, indicating an unauthorized exit. At 3:25 in the morning, with the manager not due until 8 a.m., the unlocked front door posed an alarming mystery. The door, fortified with 4 locks, exposed an unsettling breach of security. Remaining vigilant, I stayed with James, attempting to restore calm to the tumultuous night. Once James settled, I ventured downstairs to secure the front door, discovering it ajar. Hastily closing it, I meticulously inspected every room, reassuring myself that the residents remained safely within the confines of the house. The subsequent night unfolded in relative calm until approximately 2 a.m. when another resident, Connor, claimed someone was tapping on his third-floor window. Skepticism lingered, given the height of his room. Ascending to his quarters, I verified the sealed window. However, as Connor returned to bed, the distinct sound of footsteps on the stairs reverberated. His panicked expression mirrored the unease settling in my gut. Opening the door to investigate revealed an empty staircase, intensifying the mystery. Connor implored me to make an unseen presence go away. Though rationalizing that no one was there, an eerie atmosphere lingered, prompting me to leave his bedside lamp on before departing. Seeking solace, I ventured outside to the patio despite the freezing January temperatures. After a brief respite, I returned inside, only to discover a disconcerting detail. The locked drawer beneath the cupboard housing sharp knives was slightly ajar. Concerned about the missing knife, a thorough search commenced, lasting nearly 2 hours. As dawn approached, the alarm sounded once again, this time from the supposedly locked spare room door. Perplexed, we ascended to discover an inexplicable scene, the bed displaced, wardrobe doors ajar, and strewn screws and nails. The unsettling centerpiece, a children's doll from the 50s, a gold bracelet, and the missing kitchen knife, posed a tableau of disquieting uncertainty. Reporting the bizarre discovery to the manager, the doll and bracelet were eventually disposed of in a charity shop. Strangely, with their removal, James's agitation subsided, and the eerie murmurs of the little girl ceased. To this day, the inexplicable events remain a haunting enigma. Whether a manifestation of paranormal forces or a confluence of peculiar behaviors and an ancient dwelling, the mystery persists, shrouded in the unexplored depths of that peculiar care home. Now working day shifts, the specter of that mysterious night continues to cast a long shadow over my memories, leaving me with lingering questions that may never find answers. The night shift at the gas station always unfolded in serene obscurity, a characteristic that resonated with my preference for solitude. Alone amidst the shelves, I meticulously organized and cleaned, occasionally interrupted by the rare customer. The stillness of the night was my sanctuary until an unforeseen turn of events. On this particular night, the weather transformed into a tempest, casting an ominous aura over the gas station. The storm unleashed its fury, plunging the area into darkness as the power succumbed. Isolated within the gas station's confines, the absence of noise was deafening, with only the muffled symphony of the relentless rain. Attempting to fill the void, I busied myself, but the pervasive silence persisted. Then, emerging from the storm's chaotic symphony, peculiar noises emanated from the outside. Scratching at the door grew louder and more insistent. Unable to ignore it any longer, I armed myself with a flashlight, approaching the door cautiously. A gust of wind accompanied by relentless rain greeted me upon opening it, and within the obscurity, an audible, heavy breathing permeated the air. As my flashlight revealed a towering figure, panic seized me. The colossal silhouette, standing at least 6 feet 5 inches with disheveled hair and a bushy beard, burst into the store. Stumbling backward, I found myself on the ground, convinced that my demise was imminent. Yet, as the figure approached, I discerned a glimmer of humanity. Hastily retreating behind the counter, I activated the alarm, a futile plea for assistance. Minutes felt like an eternity, and with no immediate help in sight, I sought a means of defense. Locating a baseball bat, I wielded it apprehensively. The man, seemingly amused, lunged at me. Summoning courage, I swung the bat with ferocity, the impact resonating with a sickening thud. The assailant crumpled to the floor, inert. Terrified yet resolute, I fled the gas station, rain-soaked and disoriented. Flashing red and blue lights illuminated the night, signaling the arrival of the long-awaited police assistance. Though my call seemed to have spanned an eternity, in reality, only a few minutes had passed. Returning to the scene with the authorities, the assailant had vanished. Despite surrendering the surveillance footage, the power outage hindered immediate analysis. The elusive figure was never apprehended, leaving me haunted by the traumatic encounter. Abandoning my post at the gas station, I chose never to return, haunted by the perpetual fear that the menacing figure might resurface. The echoes of that harrowing night lingered, a haunting reminder that altered the course of my life forever. When I turned 20, I found myself employed at a gas station located on the opposite end of town from my residence. Graduating high school had led me to take on the night shift as a means of supplementing my income, given that my primary job wasn't particularly lucrative. Although the gas station operated around the clock, my shift spanned from 7 p.m. to midnight, conveniently aligning with the conclusion of my other employment at 5 p.m. The schedule was demanding, but truth be told, the job itself was surprisingly undemanding. The gas station, open throughout the night, didn't witness much foot traffic, given the prevalence of pay-at-the-pump services. My nights were typically a blend of leisurely scrolling through Instagram and engaging in banter with my colleagues. Occasionally, a customer would interrupt the routine by inquiring about the location of the restroom. Despite the apparent calm, the night shifts always boasted a dual workforce, more for safety than necessity. My coworkers and I took this precaution seriously, forging a strong sense of camaraderie. The incident I recount unfolded on a Thursday night around 11 p.m., during a shift shared with a younger colleague named John. A mere 18 years old and still attending high school, John possessed a distinctive shock of red hair and an unblemished complexion that betrayed his youthful status. Despite the disparity in our tenures, a big brother-little brother dynamic had evolved between us. It was mid-August, and the heat inside the store, despite the late hour, was oppressive. To alleviate the discomfort, we often propped open the back door to allow a welcome breeze to permeate the premises. Amidst the solitude of the late hours, John and I reveled in lively conversations and good-natured banter. On this particular night, as I tidied up the front shelves, two vehicles pulled up, one, an aging sedan adorned with rust spots, and the other, a white minivan with tinted windows. The minivan gravitated towards a pump, while the sedan parked conspicuously out front. My curiosity piqued. I wrapped up my tasks and returned to the counter, uncertain if the two arrivals were connected. Minutes later, a solitary man entered the store. His physique was slight, appearing to be in his early 30s, with a vacant expression. Dressed in a white tank top and baggy jeans, he fixed his gaze on me, proceeding towards the counter. It was then that I noticed him reaching behind his back, and before I comprehended the situation, I found myself staring down the barrel of a handgun. The store boasted a discreet silent alarm, yet my proximity to it precluded any sudden movements. Aware that John could hear the unfolding drama, I spoke loudly, conceding, "No problem, sir. Don't shoot. Take whatever you want." Simultaneously, the man rolled his eyes, smiled, and shifted his attention. Following his gaze, I discovered an unconscious John being carried out from the back by a second man who had apparently infiltrated through the open back door. The assailants demanded money, and compliance seemed the only rational choice. Hastily emptying the cash register into a bag, I surrendered it, along with a second bag filled with lottery tickets. The man holding John assured me that if I refrained from alerting the police, they would release him unharmed. Subsequently, the two culprits exited through the front door, one carrying John, and both vehicles sped away. I stood frozen for what felt like an eternity, hesitant to dial the police as per the assailant's directive. Eventually, I mustered the courage to call 911 and reported the harrowing incident. Law enforcement arrived promptly, scrutinizing the security footage. After an agonizing wait, an officer informed me that they had obtained the license plate of one of the cars. My inaugural employment venture led me to the gas station nestled just a stone's throw away from my high school. Assigned to the Thursday and Friday evening shifts, my work hours stretched from 6 p.m. until midnight. Despite the strain on my academic commitments, my parents sanctioned it, believing the experience would prove beneficial. For the first portion of my shifts, a fellow worker shared the duties until 10 p.m., leaving me alone to navigate the final 2 hours. One particular night, as the clock approached 11 p.m., I stood behind the counter, engrossed in my phone, when the entrance door creaked open. And sauntered a mysterious figure, a towering man, standing at an imposing 6 feet 2 inches, clad in a lengthy, weathered coat, sporting sunglasses, a brimmed hat, and a voluminous beard that obscured much of his face. The initial apprehension of a potential robbery lingered in my thoughts, given his apparent effort to conceal his identity. The enigmatic visitor wandered the aisles without making a purchase, ultimately stationing himself by the coffee machine at the rear of the store. He remained mute, never acknowledging my presence. With just 5 minutes left until closing time, he exited without a word, leaving me with a disconcerting mix of relief and unease. Why would someone spend an hour in a store without any intention to buy? Inquiring with my more seasoned coworker on subsequent shifts, I discovered he had never encountered such a peculiar visitor. However, the eerie pattern persisted. The same unsettling man would reappear around 10:30 p.m., silent and stationary, departing moments before the closing hour. Over several shifts, I grew accustomed to this unsettling routine, attempting few conversations with the unresponsive visitor. One fateful night, as I manned the counter with the enigmatic figure haunting the opposite end of the store, I couldn't shake the awkwardness of our solitary cohabitation. Locked in the store after his departure, I executed the closing routine, garbage disposal, floor sweep, and cash register preparation for deposit. Emerging into the night, I spotted my car alone in the dimly lit parking lot, positioned past the pumps. An uncanny sensation of being observed descended upon me as I walked towards my car. Abruptly, a figure materialized from the shadows, obstructing my path, the same eerie presence from the store. Panic set in as I sprinted back to the safety of the store, promptly locking the door and dialing my dad for assistance. Peering through the large glass window, I witnessed the intruder standing motionless. 10 minutes later, my dad's headlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the mysterious man's face for an instant. Seizing the opportunity, he fled into the night. The aftermath of that unnerving encounter marked my departure from the gas station job, instilling an aversion to night shifts at subsequent employment. The haunting question lingers: who was that enigmatic figure, and what were his intentions? To this day, I remain clueless, my reluctance to embrace the shadows a testament to the spine-chilling. It was a moonlit night, and exhaustion weighed heavy on me as I pulled into a gas station on my way home from the restaurant where I worked until the late hours. The clock ticked to 11:30, and this particular gas station, a nightly landmark on my commute, always seemed open, boasting a store larger than most, resembling a mini grocery store. As I entered, the store's interior revealed an unexpected charm. Beyond the usual array of snacks and junk food, it offered a surprisingly decent selection, even hosting a tiny produce aisle. I decided to make the most of the visit and gathered essentials: bananas, eggs, and bread. The basket filled, I wandered the well-lit aisles, contemplating additional purchases, absorbing the unique ambience. After paying for both gas and groceries, I exited through the large glass door. The night air felt crisp, and the glow from the gas pumps created a bright oasis in the otherwise dark parking lot. My car stood next to a pump, patiently awaiting its fuel infusion. Approaching the vehicle, I noticed an unexpected hitch in my plan. Through the rear window, a figure sat in the back seat, shrouded in shadows. Typically, I didn't lock my doors during these quick pit stops, a habit driven by convenience. The thought of someone in my car sent a shiver down my spine. Peering inside, I discerned an older woman, her form hunched, and her face concealed by disheveled hair. Confusion painted her presence, prompting my consideration of offering assistance. However, a cautious instinct held me back, contemplating the unusual circumstances. After a brief internal debate, I decided to call the police. As I waited, 2 officers arrived, their presence casting shadows on the situation. They investigated, and from my limited vantage point, I observed them open the car's back door and handcuff the person inside. The silhouette morphed into an older man, aged between 50 and 60, with long gray hair and peculiar tattoos on his face and hands. Strangely, he wore a hospital gown over his clothes, a detail that added to the mystery. Dismay gripped me as I watched the unfolding events. The officers, unaware of my proximity, proceeded to frisk the man. To my horror, a large hunting knife emerged from under his clothes. Panic surged within me, realizing the perilous situation I had narrowly escaped. The officer's swift response and my cautious decision had spared me from an unknown threat, leaving me with a chilling tale of survival. On a frigid winter evening, I found myself toiling away at the gas station nestled in the heart of my small town. The station, a diminutive establishment, boasted a handful of pumps, a petite shop, and a modest restroom. Within the confines of the shop, my primary refuge, I busied myself attending to customers while attempting to stave off the biting cold that seeped in as the night descended. As darkness cloaked the gas station, a hush settled over the surroundings. The sporadic arrival of cars seeking fuel or a quick snack punctuated the otherwise solitary ambience. However, solitude took an unexpected turn when two enigmatic figures strode in. One, a tall and slender individual, possessed a pallid countenance adorned with high cheekbones. His companion, of average stature, sported long gray hair concealed beneath a worn baseball hat. Both were clad in tattered jackets and unkempt pants, exuding an air of disheveled mystery. Maintaining a facade of politeness, I warily engaged with them, guiding them to the nearest town in the hope that their departure would swiftly follow. Yet, they loitered, their gaze lingering upon me as they delved into intrusive inquiries. Attempting brevity proved futile. Their persistence extended until they begrudgingly purchased cigarettes and departed, vanishing into a dilapidated car stationed outside. As the engine sputtered away, I breathed a sigh of relief, oblivious to the unfolding drama that awaited me. Following the conclusion of my shift, I stepped into the crisp night air, my breath materializing as ethereal fog. Unexpectedly, the same weathered car reappeared, its occupants extending an offer of a ride. Declining with a preference for the impending bus, I found myself plunged into an uncomfortable encounter as their insistence escalated. A disconcerting glint in their eyes caught my attention, setting off an internal alarm. Firmly rebuffing their advances, I hurriedly distanced myself, only to realize their lingering presence as I glanced back. A block away, a sense of urgency enveloped me as I witnessed the persistent car still tailing my every move. The approaching bus became my salvation, and I sprinted to the nearest stop, narrowly escaping the unsettling duo. Contemplating whether to involve law enforcement, I decided against it, reluctant to create unnecessary turmoil. In the ensuing weeks, the ominous car became a recurring sight, circling the gas station and its environs without apparent purpose. Fearing the unknown intentions of those mysterious individuals, I adopted a cautious approach, refraining from venturing out alone whenever their presence loomed. The strategy, for now, seemed to be my safeguard against the encroaching shadows that lingered around the gas station. Late one night, I found myself navigating the desolate stretch of road, driving home after visiting family out of state. Fatigue weighed heavy on me, but the miles stretched out like an endless black ribbon, urging me to press on. Music was a distraction I couldn't afford, so the only sound accompanying me was the steady hum of my car engine. Lost in my thoughts, a beacon of hope appeared on the horizon, a dimly lit gas station. As I pulled over, a chilling breeze greeted me. The small and isolated station stood eerily under a flickering neon sign that defiantly claimed to be open 24 hours. Intrigued and desperate for a pick-me-up, I stepped out of my car. The atmosphere inside hit me like a wall of memories, infused with the unmistakable sense of gasoline and cigarettes. The store was bathed in a dim glow from a handful of buzzing fluorescent lights overhead. At the counter stood a man, with greasy hair and a stained t-shirt, whose eyes seemed to follow my every move. Determined to shake off the unease, I approached the coffee machine. The hum of the brewing coffee seemed to drown out the eerie silence. Cup in hand, I ventured to grab some snacks when the man, with a predatory gaze, blocked my path. "Nice car you got there," he leered, eyes fixed on me. Panic set in. I feigned nonchalance, claiming it was a rental. His hungry look intensified, and an uncomfortable chill crept down my spine. Desperate to escape his unsettling presence, I attempted to leave, but he remained an obstacle. "You know, I could help you out," he suggested, leaning closer. Alarm bells rang, as I wondered how he could know my destination. "Sorry, not interested," I retorted, but he persisted, reaching out to grab my arm. I recoiled, repulsed by the stench of his breath. Fleeing the gas station, I jumped into my car, only to see him emerge, getting into his vehicle. Panic set in, he was following me. Desperate to evade him, I took sharp turns and weaved through traffic, yet his menacing presence persisted. Headlights glared like the eyes of a demon in my rearview mirror. Suddenly, he swerved, attempting to run me off the road. With adrenaline pumping, I somehow regained control and sped away. My harrowing escape led me to a small motel on the outskirts of town. Desperation in my eyes, I begged for a room, the clerk's suspicion evident. Eventually, I was granted refuge, and I collapsed onto the bed. Exhausted and haunted by the night's events, I lay there, staring at the ceiling for what felt like an eternity. The clock read 4 o'clock in the morning when I last checked. Sleep finally claimed me, but I woke at 6 o'clock, more fatigued than ever. Peeking out, I scanned for the ominous car. Relief washed over me when it was nowhere in sight. Gathering what was left of my strength, I drove the remaining distance home. The mysterious car never reappeared, and the traumatic encounter remained a secret until now, a tale I may never speak of again. In my late 20s, I found myself stuck working at a gas station, a job I had picked up during high school and clung to due to a lack of better options. Night shifts became my norm, offering a sense of solitude and quietude that I strangely came to appreciate. Little did I know that one cold, drizzly night would mark the pinnacle of my time there, a chilling encounter that would linger in my memory. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, the store deserted as usual. A lone figure emerged through the mist, his face hidden beneath the shadow of a hooded sweatshirt. The door creaked open, and he entered, casting a suspicious glance in my direction. "Hey, buddy," he muttered, his features elusive. Despite my attempt to maintain composure, a sense of unease settled over me like an unwelcome shroud. For years, the gas station had been a haven of routine, with no noteworthy incidents disrupting the monotony of serving late-night customers. However, this night promised to be different. The mysterious figure roamed the aisles aimlessly, his presence raising the hair on the back of my neck. His lack of interest in our merchandise only heightened my anxiety, signaling that trouble might be looming. As minutes ticked by, tension thickened in the air. The hooded stranger approached the counter, his demand cutting through the silence like a blade. "Give me all the money in the cash register," he whispered, catching me off guard. Panic surged within me, having never faced the threat of a robbery before. With trembling hands, I complied, handing over the cash as quickly as I could. In a blink, the intruder vanished into the night, leaving me standing there in shock. I had triggered the alarm, knowing the police would arrive shortly. When they did, I recounted the harrowing experience, and together we reviewed the security footage. The perpetrator remained an enigma, his face obscured, yet the officers expressed confidence in tracking him down. The following day brought news of the apprehension. The audacious criminal, still adorned in the same clothes, proved to be less than brilliant. The incident became a tale told at the gas station, a story of a late-night encounter that turned out to be both eerie and ultimately a testament to the triumph of justice. I'm Sophie, and my evenings were once filled with the eerie ambience of the KFC where I worked, nestled within a sprawling retail complex. With its doors open until midnight, it stood as the last beacon of activity in the deserted expanse once all neighboring businesses had closed. As my late shifts concluded, an ominous atmosphere lingered in the air, particularly in the empty parking lot that sent shivers down my spine. During my college days, I found myself part-timing at this restaurant, often closing shop with a few female co-workers, including our manager. On one fateful night, as we extinguished the outside lights and began the ritual of tidying up the kitchen and dining area, an unexpected event unfolded. The ambient glow emanating from the dimly lit kitchen was the only source of light when, just as we were about to depart, the restaurant's phone rang, breaking the silence. The unsettling sound echoed through the empty space, and we gathered around our manager, curious to eavesdrop on the mysterious caller. A crackling voice emerged, uttering unsettling phrases, including a chilling proclamation that he could see us. Panic swept through us, but we clung to the hope that it was just another late-night prank call, despite the lateness of the hour. Attempting to discern the caller's identity and intentions, our manager engaged in a futile conversation. When the call ended, a loud thud resonated from the front door, sending shockwaves through us. Hastily, our manager rushed to inspect, beckoning us to follow suit. Peering through the large window, we discovered a man in a plaid button-down shirt standing outside, his face concealed as his back faced us. Despite the neat appearance, an unsettling tension hung in the air. Ensuring the door was securely locked, our manager instructed us to call the police. The tense moments that followed seemed like an eternity, but within minutes, the flashing red and blue lights of a police car illuminated the dining room. Peeking through the window, we observed the officer confronting the mysterious man. As he turned around, revealing a stern expression, our eyes met for the first time, sending a chill down my spine. The police officer engaged in a conversation with the man, the details of which remained elusive to us. It appeared as though the officer was instructing him to leave, and the man complied, disappearing into the night. The police officer entered the restaurant to seek our account, inquiring if we were familiar with the man. Shaking our heads, we denied any connection to him. To our horror, the officer revealed that the man claimed to be my father, there to pick me up from work. A vehement denial escaped my lips, for the man was a stranger, and the situation unfolded like a sick joke. After the police departed, we secured the restaurant and left, haunted by the unsettling encounter. Subsequent inquiries with other late-shift employees yielded no sightings or peculiar incidents. It seemed as though the enigmatic man had chosen us as his audience. For weeks thereafter, paranoia enveloped us during closing shifts. Double-checking locks became a ritual, and we scanned the surroundings before departing. Strangely, the man never resurfaced, leaving us with lingering questions and a sense of vulnerability. Reflecting on that chilling night, the what-if still sends shivers down my spine. The unanswered questions persist, and I remain disheartened by the lack of resolution. The experience left me uneasy for an extended period, and I wished for more decisive actions to protect us from the lingering threat that could have materialized. In the quiet solitude of the local shopping mall, I used to toil away as a cleaner during the late hours, long after the stores had closed and the last shoppers had departed. These nights were usually serene, with only my presence echoing through the deserted corridors. Occasionally, a fellow night worker would join me, but on this particular night, I found myself alone, accompanied only by the soft hum of my cleaning equipment. To combat the monotony, I often indulged in music or podcasts through my trusty phone. The familiar tunes or captivating stories were a necessary distraction from the eerie silence that enveloped the mall at that hour. It was during one such night, as I was diligently mopping a narrow corridor leading to the bathrooms, that the ordinary routine of my job took an unexpected turn. Near the exit, adjacent to a large glass door, I was startled by a tapping sound emanating from behind me. Turning around, I was met with the sight of a man clad in a police uniform. His gaze was fixed on me as he urgently uttered, "Let me in, it's an emergency." A moment of hesitation gripped me. Encountering another person in the mall at 1:30 a.m. was a rarity, let alone a police officer seeking entrance. The situation seemed surreal. Despite the oddity of the encounter, there was an undeniable urgency in the man's voice that compelled me to consider his plea. "Why do you need to come in?" I inquired, my hand hovering over the lock. His response sent a shiver down my spine. There had been a break-in at the jewelry store, and he needed to secure the scene. The implications of such a breach were significant, considering the high-value items housed in that store. Yet, skepticism gnawed at me. How could someone infiltrate a store filled with expensive merchandise without triggering alarms or catching my attention? The man's demeanor added to my suspicion. He seemed too friendly and relaxed for someone responding to a potential break-in. Besides, where were his colleagues, and where was his police vehicle? I'm sorry, I can't let you in, I stated firmly, reaching for my phone to dial the police. The man's friendly smile vanished, replaced by a scowl. He pounded on the glass door, demanding entry, but I held my ground. As I spoke to the police dispatcher, detailing the man's appearance and the bizarre situation, he eventually relented and vanished from view. Within minutes, the Real police arrived. 2 patrol cars pulled up to the mall. Stepping out, the officers' uniforms didn't align with the imposter I had encountered earlier. Relief washed over me, my instincts had served me well. I provided a detailed account of the incident to the legitimate police, who confirmed there was no reported robbery at the mall. The remainder of the night unfolded without further incident. I completed my shift at 6 a.m., exiting the mall with a sense of accomplishment and vigilance. Driving home, my thoughts lingered on the stranger's intentions. It became clear that he wasn't a genuine officer responding to a crisis. Instead, he likely harbored malicious motives. The unsettling realization left me contemplating the potential danger I had narrowly. When I was 20 years old, I found employment at a sprawling grocery store conveniently located near my house. Despite still living with my parents, I was diligently saving up for my own place. The store operated 24/7, and I was assigned to the late shift. During those late hours, the vast expanse of the store transformed into a tranquil haven, with only another diligent worker and a lone cashier sharing the space. The store, equipped with 10 checkouts, appeared cavernous most nights, providing an eerie yet intriguing backdrop for the night shifts. The nights were usually uneventful, dominated by the rhythmic routine of restocking shelves and the occasional encounter with rare shoplifters. However, one fateful night, an enigmatic figure entered the store, sparking an unsettling turn of events. This man, older and disheveled, approached me with peculiar inquiries, hinting at a dark curiosity about products that could be used to create explosives. Initially taken aback, I dismissed it as a bizarre encounter and returned to my duties. As the night progressed, the mysterious man remained an unsettling presence. Later that night, during my break, I glimpsed him standing in the parking lot, fixated on the store. Despite my attempts to rationalize his presence, the unease lingered. The following night, the man returned, delving deeper into his peculiar queries, this time probing about security measures within the store. His lingering presence fueled my discomfort. Despite attempting to brush off the encounter, the man persisted, making his unsettling presence felt during subsequent shifts. A week later, the situation escalated. Finishing my shift at 11 p.m., I found myself walking through the dimly lit parking lot, only to realize I was not alone. The same man trailed behind me, his wild eyes and incoherent muttering instilling fear. As he closed in, he erupted into a fit of accusations, unjustly branding me a spy. Cornered against my car, I feared for my life, but a surge of adrenaline allowed me to break free. Sprinting back to the safety of the store, I instructed the cashier to summon the police. By the time law enforcement arrived, the assailant had vanished. Describing the harrowing encounter, they recognized the man and revealed his history of violence. The incident left me profoundly shaken, but my commitment to the job endured for another year and a half. Miraculously, the man never returned, allowing me to continue my work without the looming threat that had once haunted the quiet aisles of the grocery store. During the period when this incident unfolded, I found myself entrenched in the routine of my job at McDonald's. I had been toiling away for several months, enduring long hours and the monotony that often accompanied the work. Most nights passed by uneventfully, with only a sporadic trickle of customers. However, the weekends brought a different energy, ushering in rowdiness fueled by the presence of inebriated patrons, occasionally leading to skirmishes. One Saturday night stands out vividly in my memory. I was stationed behind the counter when 2 seemingly ordinary customers entered. Initially, they appeared to be 2 friends seeking a late-night snack. However, as they approached, an ominous tension emanated from them. Their anger towards each other was palpable, and despite my attempts to remain disinterested in their dispute, I couldn't help but notice the escalating argument. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, transforming into a heated shouting match that defied my attempts at intervention. Desperate to diffuse the mounting aggression, I ventured out from behind the counter, hoping to keep them apart. It was a decision I would come to regret, as one of the men brandished a knife, an unsettling sight I had never encountered before. Retreating to the safety of the counter, I hastily dialed the police, my heart pounding with fear. The altercation escalated into a full-blown fight before help could arrive. Still connected to the emergency line, I cautiously approached the battleground, attempting to separate the combatants. However, my efforts were in vain, and in the chaotic fray, I inadvertently felt a sharp, searing pain on my arm, a grim realization that I had been cut by the menacing weapon. As the police swooped in to quell the confrontation, both belligerents were apprehended and escorted away in handcuffs. The aftermath was a scene of pandemonium. The restaurant lay in disarray, my arm stained with blood, and the few remaining customers had hastily fled, leaving only the police, my coworkers hidden in the back, and me. Seeking immediate medical attention, I took the rest of the night off and made my way to the hospital. The gravity of the incident had left an indelible mark on me, prompting a decision I had contemplated prior: quitting my job. This unfortunate event became the tipping point, hastening my departure from a workplace now tainted by violence. The aftermath extended beyond the visible chaos. The fear instilled by the incident lingered, prompting a battery of tests to ensure my health remained intact. Fortunately, the results came back negative, sparing me from further complications. Nevertheless, the psychological toll proved insurmountable, leading to my swift resignation. In the aftermath of this harrowing experience, I reflected on the fragility of life and the unpredictability that could disrupt the mundane routine of a fast food job. The decision to leave McDonald's wasn't just about escaping the physical danger, but also about preserving my mental well-being in the face of unforeseen perils. For the past half-decade, I've been a fixture at a quiet gas station, primarily holding down the overnight shift from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It wasn't exactly my first choice, but circumstances dictated, and I needed the job. The station was situated along a scarcely traveled stretch of highway, a lone outpost in a sea of woods, with distant farm fields and isolated houses scattered in the vicinity. I'd usually arrive around 15 minutes early, my car illuminating the front in the already dark surroundings. The gas station, with its bright exterior lights, created a bubble of light in the otherwise encompassing darkness. Fluorescent bulbs hummed loudly, and swarms of moths fluttered around them as I made my way inside. My coworker, Carlos, and I would often exchange a few words during the transition of our shifts. Once he left, I delved into my nightly duties, the initial hours passing swiftly without a single customer. The night was eerily quiet, making my tasks almost leisurely compared to the bustling day shifts. During the late hours, as I worked on a crossword puzzle and listened to music with just one earbud in, the tranquility was abruptly shattered by 3 distinct bangs emanating from the back door. A disconcerting surprise, given that Carlos had already departed, and no cars had pulled up. My imagination dismissed the sounds until a final, solitary bang jolted me into action. Turning off my music, I approached the front door, confirming I was the sole inhabitant of the gas station. Circumspectly, I circled around to the back, where a bizarre sight awaited me. A man, dressed in a black t-shirt and shorts with gray hair peeking out from under a baseball hat, stood facing away from me. The artificial glow of fluorescent lights bathed him in an eerie luminescence. Politely, I inquired if he needed assistance, but he remained motionless. The air thickened with tension as I attempted eye contact, maintaining a cautious distance. Eventually, his head snapped up, revealing a chilling smile. Instinctively, I retreated, and as I distanced myself, the man turned and vanished into the dense woods. Back in the safety of the gas station's light, I pondered my unsettling encounter. There were no other cars, and the remoteness of the location made it improbable for someone to simply walk away. Uncertain of what to do, I completed my shift, suppressing the unnerving incident. The following afternoon, news reports unveiled a missing person case, unrelated in description to the man I encountered. A 22-year-old individual was reported missing. Though the ages didn't align, a sense of foreboding prompted me to contact the police, providing them with the peculiar details. Unfortunately, no updates ever reached me, leaving me in the dark about the strange events that transpired that night and the potential peril I narrowly avoided. At the tender age of 18, I found myself in possession of a driver's license but lacked the funds to acquire my own vehicle. Consequently, I often relied on the generosity of my mother, who allowed me to use her minivan whenever the occasion arose. Residing approximately 30 minutes away from the city, my friends and I frequently sought entertainment in the bustling downtown area. On one particular night, my life took an unexpected turn during a post-concert excursion with my friend, Brad. As we traversed the city streets in my mom's minivan, the fuel gauge prompted an unscheduled stop. A downtown gas station, adjacent to the concert venue, beckoned us under the muted glow of midnight on a Tuesday. The pump stood vacant, echoing the quietude of the late hour. Eager to refuel, I parked at an available pump, the silence broken only by the distant hum of the city. With Brad venturing into the convenience store for refreshments, I observed a mysterious figure near the entrance. A man of roughly 45 years, adorned in a brown sweatshirt boasting an enigmatic logo, caught my attention. Following Brad inside, the man's presence triggered an unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach. Upon completing the refueling task, I maneuvered the van into a nearby parking spot and waited anxiously for Brad's return. As he approached, an uninvited companion trailed behind, their interaction painted with discomfort. It became evident that Brad was uneasy, a fact accentuated by the man's imposing figure. With a sense of foreboding, Brad disclosed that the man sought a ride. Intuitively, I sensed Brad's desire for me to decline. Crafting a plausible excuse involving displeased parents, I attempted to thwart the stranger's entry. However, the man, wearing a malevolent scowl, brandished a knife against Brad's abdomen, issuing a chilling ultimatum. Confronted with an agonizing decision, I sought to stall, glancing desperately at a passerby who seemed oblivious to our distress. In a moment of silent communication, I implored him for assistance, and after a fleeting hesitation, concern etched across his face, he comprehended the gravity of our predicament. Engaging in a precarious dance of negotiations, I feigned a malfunctioning door, attempting to buy time. The man, unmoved by my pleas, intensified his grip on the knife, prompting Brad's anguished cries to reverberate through the night. A glimmer of hope emerged as distant sirens heralded the approach of law enforcement. Upon hearing the approaching police, the assailant fled into the shadows, evading my line of sight. Swift police intervention led to his apprehension, while Brad, grievously wounded, required immediate medical attention. The severity of his injuries shocked me. The knife had inflicted a deep gash, a revelation that altered my perception of the entire harrowing episode. Gratitude mingled with horror as I realized the gravity of the situation. Brad had endured the entire ordeal with remarkable fortitude. His resilience illuminated the worst night of our lives, an incident that could have ended tragically had we succumbed to the demands of the unknown assailant. This shared experience forged an unspoken bond, a testament to the strength we discovered within ourselves during that fateful night. In the twilight of my high school years, I found myself employed at a gas station, a job I snagged when opportunities were scarce in my area. While many of my friends struggled to secure employment even after graduation, I considered myself fortunate to have landed the job, despite its meager pay. The catch was that I had to endure the late shift, commencing at 5 p.m. and concluding at midnight. Fortunately, my boss's son, Andre, willingly took over the graveyard shift, fueled by his nocturnal gaming sessions. The initial months passed uneventfully, with the monotony of basic cleaning tasks and shelf stocking. I often found solace in the back area of the store, equipped with a security camera feed, allowing me to keep a vigilant eye on the establishment. However, one fateful night, around 11 p.m., the tranquility was shattered. As I immersed myself in a book on my phone, the door creaked open. Glancing at the security screen, I observed a man entering on foot. Intrigued but not overly alarmed, I pocketed my phone and ventured into the store. The man, clad in blue athletic shorts and an oversized, grubby t-shirt, wandered aimlessly for what felt like an eternity. We exchanged no words, and eventually he exited. Later, when Andre assumed his shift, I recounted the bizarre encounter. He identified the intruder as Craig, a former high school acquaintance who had spiraled into drug addiction. Andre, having severed ties with Craig, had encountered similar situations but never experienced any theft. The mystery of Craig's aimless visits lingered. Subsequent shifts brought recurring visits from Craig, each time inducing an unsettling sense of discomfort. It seemed harmless, yet the unease persisted. On one occasion, two masked individuals, including a towering figure and a familiar face, barged into the store. Before I could react, the larger one brandished a gun. As they coerced me to the register, the realization of impending danger struck. My distance from the panic button rendered it useless. They seized the meager sum from the register, destroyed my phone, and ransacked the store. In a matter of minutes, they vanished into the night. Activating the alarm, I anxiously awaited the arrival of the police. Providing a detailed description, I identified Craig, leading to his swift arrest that night. He promptly implicated his accomplice, and both were sentenced to jail for their crimes. However, justice proved fleeting, as Craig resurfaced in town after his release. The audacity to approach me, feigning camaraderie, was met with a firm rebuke. The unsettling reality lingered. Sometimes, the shadows from the past refused to fade. I may appear younger than my actual age, standing at a petite 5 feet 0 inches, and my timeless features defy the conventional aging process that most girls experience. The recollection of this peculiar incident resurfaced during a conversation with my mom, casting a light on a memorable evening that unfolded on February 11th, the night of the Valentine's dance at my school. For the occasion, I adorned my mother's resplendent golden prom dress, while my friend Anne, who accompanied me, donned an elegant white and pink ensemble. A noteworthy detail was that Anne's dad served as our chaperone for the night, adding an unexpected twist to our adventure. As we embarked on the journey to the dance, Anne's father, our designated chauffeur, made an unscheduled stop at a gas station. Tasking both Anne and me with paying for the gas, we entered the store. The late-night air tinged with mystery surrounded us as the clock struck midnight. Inside, the cashier, with a hint of broken English in his tone, greeted us with an unexpected question: "Where are you pretty ladies headed to?" I endeavored to respond politely, explaining that we had just returned from a dance. However, the cashier's unsettling demeanor became apparent when he suggested, "Maybe I should have gone. I could find me some pretty ladies like you." A disconcerting smirk played on his face. And then I, already on edge, excused ourselves and began exploring the store. Hushed whispers about the cashier's creepy vibes permeated our conversation. Our discomfort escalated as he repeatedly peeked over the counter at us. The eerie atmosphere thickened when he inquired about our age, assuming we were around 18. Despite our attempts to clarify our actual ages, with me being a year older than my 13-year-old friend, the cashier persisted in prying. Eventually, I mustered the courage to intervene, stating, "Actually, we've got to go." With that, I hastily pulled in outside, leaving the gas station behind us, and we never crossed paths with the unsettling cashier again. The memory of that peculiar encounter lingered, an indelible mark on a night that began with the innocence of a Valentine's dance, but transformed into a twilight escapade fraught with discomfort and an uncanny encounter. In June of 2010, I embarked on a captivating journey into the realm of nuclear security, a job that not only fueled my passion but also padded my wallet generously. As a contracted security officer, I found camaraderie with a vibrant group of colleagues who made each workday an adventure. Little did I know that this job would eventually plunge me into a gripping tale of danger and intrigue. The pivotal moment arrived in September 2012 when I discovered I was expecting a child, a revelation that would later intertwine with the unfolding drama. The security company, in response to a surge in demand, brought in fresh recruits, including a character I'll refer to as H. H, a seemingly unassuming man in his mid-40s, initially appeared amiable. However, the plot took a sinister turn when I transitioned from day shifts to the enigmatic world of night duty, working from 5:30 p.m. until the wee hours of 6 a.m. Initially uneventful, the night soon took a dark turn as H inexplicably began taunting me without provocation, morphing into an unpleasant character. Undeterred by his behavior, I, a devout Christian, resolved to combat his hostility with kindness. It was during this period that I learned about H's tumultuous divorce, a circumstance that seemed to explain his sudden shift in demeanor. As the nights wore on, H's actions escalated from verbal jabs to physical confrontations. At 5 feet 1 inch, I stood my ground, perplexed by his unexplained animosity. The tensions reached a crescendo one fateful night when H, burdened by weekend duty that jeopardized his time with his children, received an unexpected reprieve when I selflessly swapped shifts with him. In a surprising twist, H, seemingly remorseful for his earlier behavior, handed me a letter from a dubious friend, requesting I rewrite it for his estranged wife. Despite my reservations, I reluctantly agreed, unwittingly stepping into a web of deception. It was during this vulnerable moment that H began sharing disturbing thoughts about his wife, expressing violent fantasies that sent shivers down my spine. Terrifyingly, H issued a chilling warning: "If you ever tell anyone what I said, I'll cut your heart out and watch you bleed." Overwhelmed by fear, I mustered the courage to report the threat to my supervisor, leading to the revocation of H's security clearance. However, his menacing glare hinted at a darker force beneath the surface. Further investigation revealed H's unsettling history, including an arrest for harassing an older woman at Publix. Astonishingly, he had slipped through the cracks to land a job in security. In January 2013, amidst my high-risk pregnancy, I took a hiatus, reaching out to H's wife to inform her of the peril she faced. The saga intensified when H discovered my cooperation, launching a campaign of terror that included stalking me, ominous phone calls, and unwarranted attention at my husband's workplace. The nightmare culminated in a subpoena to testify at court, where H's sinister grin left an indelible mark. Though spared from testifying, the stalking persisted until March, when H's dark deeds caught up with him. Arrested for breaking into his wife's home and armed with forbidden firearms, H displayed a macabre sense of satisfaction as he watched the flames engulf the house. The chilling epilogue revealed that I was not alone in my torment, and the shadow of H's malevolence lingered. 3 months of terror followed, leaving me haunted by the hope never to cross paths with him again. The tale of my harrowing encounter with H serves as a cautionary reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places, even within the seemingly secure confines of a nuclear security job. It was a chilly and silent evening, and I found myself amidst the solitude of the overnight shift at the grocery store. The establishment, having long closed its doors at 2 a.m., was eerily empty, with only my boss and another coworker sharing the space. As the new guy, I felt the need to prove myself, even though the sense of vulnerability crept in while I toiled away in the back-loading area. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the stacked boxes as I unloaded skids. Alone in the quiet expanse, a single back door propped open with a bucket beckoned, providing a brief respite for my coworker on break and a spot for our occasional smoke breaks. My boss was asleep in the office nearby, and despite the comfort offered by the store's surveillance cameras that diligently covered every inch, I couldn't shake the unsettling thoughts of night shift hauntings and strange occurrences. Taking a quick break, I leaned against the wall near the open door, feeling the cool breeze. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing from outside. Anxious and curious, I peered through the open door, only to witness a terrified woman sprinting towards me, clutching a menacingly large knife. The fear etched on her face sent shivers down my spine. She looked like a character fleeing from Jason Voorhees in a horror movie. Uncertain of what to do, torn between helping her and ensuring my own safety, I opted to run. Kicking the bucket to close the door behind me, I sprinted away, the door not latching shut in time. Panic set in as I heard it burst open, confirming the woman's unwelcome entry. Racing to my boss's office, I frantically woke him, and together, we observed the woman pacing through the aisles. Fear gripped us, rendering us immobile as we watched her unsettling behavior. The decision to call the police was imminent, but anxiety held us back from making the slightest noise that might trigger her. The large knife in her hand heightened our unease as she roamed the store, seemingly unaware of our presence. My boss discreetly whispered details to the police while I tried to locate our coworker outside, fearing he might cross paths with the erratic woman. In the tense moments of waiting, anxiety permeated the air in the concealed safety of the office. The woman continued her slow march down the aisles, oblivious to our hidden gaze. Cam, our coworker, was due to return from his break, intensifying our concerns. Finally, the police arrived, swiftly apprehending the woman, who vehemently screamed about someone chasing her. The perplexity of the situation deepened as no one else was found in the vicinity. Security cameras captured her solitary dash outside, disproving her claims of pursuit. The lingering question of her motive for carrying the knife haunted me. Was she truly in danger, or was she unhinged? The mystery lingered, leaving an unsettling unease, especially considering what might have transpired if she had encountered Cam during that chaotic night. In the heart of the city, nestled on a quiet side street, I once held the post of a security guard at a retail building. Far removed from the bustling nightlife, I found solace in the serene isolation that accompanied my night shifts. As a student, my evenings were occasionally punctuated with social outings, but I relished the moments when I could immerse myself in solitude, untouched by distractions. The routine was monotonous, with my time often spent reading or engaging in games on my phone. On one fateful night, however, the tranquil ambience shattered, leaving me questioning the very fabric of my reality. Seated in the security office, surrounded by an array of computer monitors displaying the live feed from security cameras, I was jolted by an inexplicable sound, footsteps echoing from the upper floors. Fatigue and skepticism initially led me to dismiss it as a product of my imagination, but curiosity got the better of me. Turning my attention to the surveillance footage, I scanned through the monitors, hoping to unravel the mystery. Amidst the static images, a shadowy figure materialized on the second-floor hallway, moving with an otherworldly fluidity. The enigmatic silhouette seemed to dissolve into the dimly lit corridor, defying the logic of the camera angles. An eerie sensation gripped me, confirming that there was an uninvited presence within the building. Summoning my courage, I swiftly abandoned my phone, dialing the police as a cold sweat formed on my brow. Describing the strange occurrence, they arrived promptly, launching a thorough search of the premises. Yet, to their disbelief, and mine, the mysterious intruder had vanished without a trace. Doubts crept in, questioning my sanity, exacerbated by the inability to locate the footage capturing the enigmatic figure. Alone once more, the passage of time was marked by an unsettling crash, the unmistakable sound of shattering glass. Frantically shifting my focus to the second-floor camera, my fears materialized as I witnessed a broken window, a tangible sign of intrusion. My suspicions validated, I urgently contacted the police once again, relaying the update. Their initial skepticism waned when faced with the shattered glass, prompting a lockdown of the entire building. Despite their thorough search, the intruder remained elusive, leaving only the broken window as evidence. The police, now alert, acknowledged the severity of the situation. Yet, as they left, a lingering sense of unease persisted. With no logical explanation for the events that transpired that night, I remained haunted by the mystery. Did the intruder escape through the second-floor window, defying the odds of a perilous jump? The absence of stolen items only deepened the enigma, leaving me grappling with the possibility that perhaps, in the realm of the inexplicable, my sanity was the collateral casualty. During the final deployment cycle of my unit, I found myself in Japan as part of the Marine Corps Infantry. Our company seized the opportunity to travel from Okinawa to South Korea for an extensive month-long training exercise. Upon our return to Camp Schwab on Okinawa, our meticulously packed supplies were shipped back in 2 sturdy containers known as Conch boxes. Until the boxes could be unloaded and inventoried, an armed guard was posted to ensure the security of our gear, including items like blank ammunition and snowshoes. The watch duty required 2 guys from the same platoon, armed with only 1 rifle and a single magazine of live ammunition. Assigned one of the less desirable shifts from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., I didn't mind much since we had the next day off due to a holiday. My buddy for the watch was a good friend named Long. To reach the motor pool, we had to start walking 15 minutes early, a routine familiar to all veterans reading this. However, our journey took an unexpected turn as we inadvertently ventured into the training area while navigating the base. Climbing a colossal hill that led to a shooting range, we stumbled upon a smoldering cigarette, unsettling evidence that someone unauthorized was in the restricted area. Hastily retracing our steps, we re-entered the base, feeling a sense of unease at the thought of someone being alone in the dark, smoking where they weren't supposed to be. Finally reaching the motor pool, Long and I were surprised to find the Marines we were relieving lounging